Time appears to be the most neutral condition in any system. It is not. A rule that is valid now may become invalid without changing its wording. A debt can become overdue while nothing material has changed. A ritual can fail because it occurs one day late. A field can receive the same seed and produce a different result because the season has shifted. In each case, time does not merely record change, it alters the structure within which the rule operates. This is before logic, a history of rules before they were written. This made time one of the earliest variables that societies had to stabilize. Long before a general theory existed, communities distinguished before from after, recurrence from interruption, delay from completion, and season from season. These distinctions determined when work began, when obligations matured, when authority changed hands, and when an event counted as properly ordered. The first durable temporal systems were built from visible regularities. Day followed night. The moon passed through recurring phases. Floods, planting cycles, and solstices returned with enough consistency to support expectation. Yet none of these cycles aligned perfectly. The lunar month did not divide evenly into the solar year. Seasonal boundaries were gradual. Astronomical recurrence was stable, but not simple. That mismatch created pressure. A calendar could not merely copy nature. It had to select units, define boundaries, and correct accumulated error. Intercalary days or months were inserted when lunar and solar cycles diverged. The calendar became reliable only by admitting that its units were constructed. A calendar did not need to reproduce the sky exactly. It needed to keep taxation, agriculture, ritual, and administration aligned closely enough for institutions to function. Temporal order became operational before it became philosophical. In Mesopotamia, dated records connected transactions to rains, months, deliveries, and future obligations. A payment recorded without a date had limited administrative value. Once placed in sequence, it could be judged as early, valid, delayed, or incomplete. Time turned an event into a relation between what had occurred and what remained due. Astronomical records intensified this effect. A single observation described one position. A series made comparison possible. Repetition could be distinguished from anomaly only when observations were ordered across intervals. Time entered knowledge as an index for patterned comparison. Egyptian civil time reveals the same tension in another form. The civil calendar remained useful even as it drifted against the solar year. Administration could continue because the calendar maintained internal consistency. A temporal system could be inaccurate in relation to one natural cycle and still remain stable within its own rules. Systems do not require perfect correspondence to remain effective. They require controlled relations between units. A day must follow another day. A month must begin according to a recognized procedure. A deadline must be identifiable. Once those relations are fixed, institutions can operate even while the model separates from the process it tracks. Greek philosophical analysis exposed a deeper difficulty. Aristotle treated time in relation to motion and number, describing it through before and after. Time was not presented as a separate substance, moving independently of events. It became intelligible through ordered change and through counting that order. The difficulty was immediate. Change appears continuous, while counting requires distinction. A duration can be divided into hours, but each hour can be divided again. No practical calendar needs infinitely small units, yet any analysis of continuity encounters further possible division. The system must stop dividing in order to function, even though the concept provides no final point at which division must stop. This tension remained hidden in ordinary use because practical systems impose thresholds. A contract recognizes a date, not every instant within it. A festival begins according to an accepted marker. A reign starts from a declared accession. Such boundaries are effective because they are recognized, not because time itself contains visible lines. Time also altered classification. The same person could occupy different legal or social categories at different ages. The same agreement could be binding, pending, expired, or void without any change in its text. The same object could remain continuous in law while changing materially through repair. Identity therefore depended not only on what something was, but on when its status was assessed. This made time a structural variable in the strict sense. When introduced into a rule, it could change the result, while every other element remained constant. The same action became permitted or forbidden. The same payment became premature or overdue. The same observation became expected or anomalous. Time modified the relation, and the relation determined the classification. Ancient systems did not organize this variable through one unified model. Administrative records, ritual calendars, astronomical tables, legal practices, and philosophical texts addressed different problems. Practical calendars were not incomplete philosophies, and philosophical accounts were not direct descriptions of institutional practice. What they shared was a demand for stable order across change. Events had to be placed in sequence, intervals had to be repeated, deviations had to be corrected, deadlines had to survive beyond memory. Once time was formalized in this limited sense, rules could extend beyond the immediate situation and govern consequences that had not yet occurred. But the success of temporal ordering produced a final instability. Every fixed interval could be treated as divisible. Every boundary could become another duration, requiring definition. The more precisely time was structured, the less obvious its smallest unit became. Measurement created order, but analysis reopened the continuity beneath it. Ancient reasoning could manage this problem without resolving it. Calendars established usable boundaries. Records preserved sequence. Philosophy identified the tension between continuity and number. Together, these systems made duration calculable while leaving its ultimate divisibility unsettled. In the next episode, we will examine infinity before formal proof.